So I'm going to do something that I haven't done in the past, and I'm going to just do a commentary review style thing, completely unscripted, like live recording of the Destiny 2 30th Anniversary Edition bundle thing. Let's see how this goes. First off, I'm going to just throw together and compile a list of topics that I feel like it's important to mention, from Dares of Eternity to Grasp of Avarice to Gjallarhorn. So I think this is a pretty decent list of things to mention. Um, I don't know how many of them I'll get to. I think a few of them could be scrapped, especially like a whole section dedicated to the other half sword. Um, that's really just explaining that it's rare, which doesn't really need to be said. Um, some people haven't gotten it entirely. I got it pretty quickly. So that's not really an issue for me. So I'll just put this list off to the side. I think I'll do some Dares of Eternity. So right off the bat, I would like to say that the Vidmaster Seal is not very difficult to complete. It's essentially just a good bit of Dares of Eternity. However, it is purely because of the Fateful Spin Triumph, a little bit time locked. Pretty much everything else you can do. I think the hardest one would be Old Friend's Old Couch. I did it with 3 Guardians total, so that can be a little tricky. However, the rest is pretty easy. The Richest Dead Man Alive is incredibly easy. It's just a matter of lightning round for stuff like Special Guest Scar. Stars of Eternity itself is a very fun experience, probably one of the better things that Bungie has put out recently in terms of a seasonal or semi-seasonal event. I've heard a lot of comparisons to the Menagerie, and those comparisons are definitely warranted. From the UI to the nature of the games, it's very reminiscent of Menagerie. It consists of spinning a wheel for a boss encounter. Oftentimes, if you're playing on both normal or legend difficulty, it'll be incredibly easy. So it's not a challenge. However, later on, it can get a little more difficult. It strikes a nice balance between pushover activity and walk in the park. And the biggest advantage is it's free, unlike Grasp of Avarice, which clears are required for the seal. Um, Anyone can just hop in and play some Dares of Eternity. I should note that I haven't played enough to rank up my reputation with Xur or gain all of the cosmetics that are available. However, I have played my fair share of both normal and legend Dares of Eternity. Something else that I think is important to mention would be the comedy that Xur delivers throughout Dares of Eternity. Especially at the end, you've got like Bob Barker, Price is Right type references, as well as the many different horse noises that you get from Star Horse, which do add some levity to the whole activity. At the end of each Dares of Eternity, you will be given a treasure key. You can head over to Xur in Eternity to open up a chest or a chest of your choosing to get a random or guaranteed specific cosmetic or weapon. Many of these weapons are incredibly unique. However, some of them can easily be replaced with other very similar weapons. Things like Pardon Our Dust are very similar to that of Season of the Splicer's Ignition Code, whereas other weapons such as Wastelander M5 provide a very unique experience to use, similar to like a non-exotic chaperone. However, it's not a slug, it's just a very precise spread shotgun, pellet shotgun. So you're not going to be able to like guarantee headshots or anything. It's just much smoother than it. It's much smoother of an experience in stuff like PvE. If you have an open exotic slot, I would still recommend Chaperone in PvP, especially considering how easy it is to get. On the other hand, there are incredibly unique feeling weapons like the BXR Battler, which feels straight out of Halo. Of course, it is a pulse rifle, and with that comes all of the range limitations that you would expect with the weapon archetype. However, to make up for that, it can make up one of several new perks. I've gotten several with Perpetual Motion and Harmony, I don't like perpetual motion all that much, considering if I'm using a pulse rifle like the Battler, I'm slowing down, only occasionally strafing, trying to land precision shots constantly due to the insanely high stability of this weapon. I'm a fan of blunt execution rounds the most, I think. However, a good perpetual motion harmony roll on the new Retraced Path legendary trace rifle is really, really fun to just mess around with. If you want to use a legendary trace rifle, because most of the exotic ones aren't worth giving up your exotic slot, Ager's Scepter is obviously an exception, but Retraced Path is a very good one. All in all, I think the changes that they made to some of the new weapon perks are warranted, in addition to all the Sandbox changes that they've made, such as adding anti-barrier to Arbalist, giving new weapons new catalysts, and several changes to Shatter Dive, Hunter Stasis, and similar overused abilities. But before we get to the Gjallarhorn, I would like to just say I think the new additions to the sandbox are very welcome, especially in regards to split sandboxes of Crucible and PvE. I think that the changes made to Vex Mythoclast were more than welcome, and I think that new intrinsic anti-barrier is fantastic. It has incredible potential as a boss melting beast. Although I think it could just be a matter of the season, it is being outpaced by some guns such as Sleeper, especially due to the new buffs, and 1000 Voices, or even Threaded Needle, now that I think of it. However, I do think the novelty of Gjallarhorn is there. I think it feels just as exotic as before. The new perks with the Catalyst are incredible, and it does bring it back to that 2 in the rocket barrel status that it had in Destiny 1. I don't think much change needs to be given to the Gjallarhorn to make it feel special, but I'm certainly glad that they didn't nerf it to Oblivion, Rise of Iron style. Once again, the Gjallarhorn quest is incredibly short, having you get some fallen kills in the EDZ, complete the dungeon, and do a lost sector to gather Gjallarhorn parts. Once it's done, your favorite Aztecross lookalike will give it to you. It only takes about 2 hours if you're going into the dungeon blind. If you've done the dungeon before, it can easily take less than an hour. Forerunner is the new exotic sidearm that was released alongside the 30th anniversary and is free to all players. It is a Halo style magnum that, if you have the catalyst upon kill, will activate a frag grenade that you can then throw. Unfortunately, I don't have the catalyst unlocked, so I can't give my comment on that. However, what I can say is the magnum is a very fun weapon. I feel like it's actually a gun that would warrant the use of sidearms in most low-level endgame activities, like a hero or a adept, I think is the lowest level, Nightfall, or something like Dares of Eternity. You can easily get away with using it in the new Grasp of Avarice dungeon. However, I'm not sure how likely it would be welcome for that final boss or the ogre boss. It's also pretty lethal in PvP, and overall, my only real gripe with it is the quest. The quest will have you do 3 Star Horse bounties, in addition to just going around the Eternity free roam area. It can be accessed close to Xur, and doing some visual puzzles and jumping stuff. Overall, I feel like the major disappointing aspect of the 30th anniversary event is the short duration of a lot of the quests. From Gjallarhorn to Forerunner, they all feel like they're missing something special. And well, yes, Gjallarhorn will have you go through the dungeon at least once. It feels like a little bit more could have been done to really show the exoticness of these exotics. And I feel like that's the only area where Bungie really missed the mark. Right now, though, I would say that there isn't much that needs to be done with tweaking the new content that's been added with the 30th anniversary event. I don't have all praise, however, I do have a lot of praise to throw around. The real discussion comes from the price tag. Is this worth $25? And that really depends on what you think you will get out of this. If you are a Destiny fan like I am, and you want to see Bungie's history through their new modern light, and it's definitely worth it. It feels like a celebration. However, I feel like you can definitely get by with just paying 0 and going in and enjoying Dares of Eternity. I think Grasp of Avarice is good. I don't think it's better than some of the other dungeons. I don't think it's the best, but it's certainly up there. Some may have the concern that Gjallarhorn is pay to win. However, I would not say that due to the fact that the new exotic perk with the catalyst. No, it's Pack Hunter. It's a perk built into the gun, which gives you the Wolfpack rounds to all non-exotic rocket launchers if someone in your fire team has a Gjallarhorn equipped, which I definitely really like. All in all, I would say that it's really your choice on whether or not it's worth it to you. I liked it a lot, but it's all incredibly subjective. If we were to discuss Grasp of Avarice, I would need to spoil a few of the encounters. So up until this point has been relatively spoiler free. My non-spoiler explanation of the dungeon would be you descend into the loot cave and have a fantastic time. Here though, I'm going to get into the actual encounters, the loot, and the master level difficulty, as well as if the master level rewards match that of the difficulty. In regards to Grasp of Avarice, I would say that it's an incredible dungeon, opening with you having to figure out how to actually break the entrance of the loot cave and descend into the actual cave. You stand by a crystal while killing enemies that will drop exotic engrams. This is a very neat way to open the dungeon. I feel like it gives a lot of creativity to the player in terms of how they want to manage the periodic waves of ads that come out from the loot cave. If they want to just throw a grenade that will sit there, or if they want to just shoot them off one by one. When you descend, you'll have a short jumping puzzle leading to the levers. The levers are fun to figure out for yourself, so do that. The Viresia boss fight is incredibly fun, with the Matador 64 being a potential drop. The legendary PvP Dominator shotgun from Destiny 1. I feel like the boss fight does have a little bit of a difficulty curve on the master difficulty. However, I feel like the mechanics of opening the doors with the scorch cannons and then lowering the boss's shields with the burdens definitely works in terms of increasing the pacing of the fight. Most teams can probably 2 to 3 phase it if you have a decent composition of exotic weapons, and good heavies, and of course, seasonal mods with particle deconstruction. Next, you're going to have the Sparrow section, which takes a couple of tries to get right at first. However, it's pretty quickly feasible for most of the teams. All you really need is some well-timed Sparrow button hits. You don't really need to be good on a Sparrow, you just kind of need to be fast, going from one bomb to the next. They defuse incredibly quickly, and it's generally kind of a pushover encounter. However, some of the spots are rather tricky in terms of getting the buttons, and not only the Fallen that will be around some of the capture points, meaning that they can blow up your Sparrow. I feel like the Fallen Shield section is really where this dungeon shines. The Fallen Shield section kind of utilizes the burdens to lower the shields as you did with the Ogres. However, this time you're using Servitors. When those Servitors are killed, you'll have to roll the body of the Servitor into a cannon to launch that at the big shield to lower the defenses that are guarding the treasure of the loot cave and uncovering the mystery of what happened to Wilhelm's fire team. Ultimately, I feel like the storytelling throughout this dungeon is incredible, and that leads us to how the final boss encounter works. Utilizing everything that you've learned so far, you will be fighting a series of 1 boss and 2 mini-bosses. The mini-bosses will respawn at the end of each damage phase, and generally I think they are the biggest pain. I found that if you're in the master mode, just popping a well right as the encounter starts and killing the 2 mini-bosses first does the most in terms of making sure that you won't die. It's a challenging boss fight that adds a lot to the table in terms of not only managing what you've learned, but risk versus reward in terms of how you want to go about fighting the boss. There are several different ways to do so. There are incredible different strategies that I've seen executed, from standing on the side platforms to behind to in front. But it's all about rhythm, as the boss stands in the center guarding the crystal that you need to cleanse to not only remove the burden from yourself, but to ultimately lower the boss's shield. From there, you can just DPS and kill the boss. Not a very difficult encounter, but oh boy, the rewards are great. You can get Yas Luna, or Ias Luna, from Destiny 1, one of my favorite hand cannons. However, on keyboard and mouse, like how I play, it's not the greatest thing in the world. There's definitely better options like Hawkmoon, or I've been more accurate with the palindrome, and I don't have a very good roll on mine. I mean, it's adept, so that gives it some credibility, but Unrelenting Outlaw, not the best, but I like it, especially for PvP. But I digress. The real reward, though, comes from the master difficulty with Artifice Armor. Artifice Armor is a type of armor that will give you one extra mod slot for seasonal mods, meaning you can run ammo finders, special solar or elemental mods, and an extra seasonal mod that you get from your artifact. The only real issue, though, is this season there are no chest armor mods, meaning that Artifice Armor for your chest does nothing but look good. Just taking a look in empty mod socket, no options. And taking a look in the artifact, nothing there either. The most important one, I would say, though, is definitely those Artifice Gauntlets, which unfortunately only drop from the shield, and I believe the final boss, and I have not gotten any to drop, because that way you can have multiple anti-champion mods. I feel like the difficulty for the rewards are very matched. I feel like it's a worthy challenge, and it's slightly easier than a Grandmaster Nightfall. Of course, you got your unlimited revives and no time limit. Plus, it's 1360 and not 1375. So I would say if you can do a GM, you can probably do Master Grasp of Avarice. There are a few things that I wish Bungie had done differently, such as tweaking some of the drop rates for their weapons. I've gotten so many Pardon Our Dust grenade launchers and not enough of the Half-Truth sword. I know a lot of people are chasing that other half, but I want more of these. I want more of both types of the sword, because the other half is a fantastic loot pool, and Half-Truths just looks cool. I like the blue. What can I say? I mean, take a look at my username. Let me know down in the comments below whether or not you'll be picking up the Destiny 2 Bungie 30th anniversary celebration. It's less of an event and more of a celebration, I feel, due to all of the complicated history of Bungie, especially now with what's out in the news. Yikes. But definitely at least hop on and try some Dares of Eternity out. That's the perfect dipping your toes in the water activity for what's to come with the 30th anniversary bundle. Let me know what you've thought about the bundle, if you've played it or purchased it. Let me know what you think about Dares of Eternity, Grasp of Avarice, Gjallarhorn, Forerunner, whatever. Have a fantastic day, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and or subscribe. If you didn't, dislike it, or don't, I don't care. It's not like people can see it anyway.